Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today is going to be UN Squadron for the Super Nintendo. Now this is a excellent shoot 'em up for the system. I'd argue it's probably the best shmup on the system. I know I'm probably going to offend some people by saying that, because I know that people have certain shmups on the SNES very close to their hearts, and I apologize for that. I think this is just an awesome game. I've been playing it a lot just recently. And I've finally been able to beat it consistently. UN Squadron is a pretty tough game, but it's not like brutally difficult like R-Type 3 or something like that. With a little bit of practice and some strategy, you should be able to get through this game relatively consistently. For those masochists out there, you can play this game on hard mode and even try to go through the entire game without using special weapons or anything like that. And that is pretty crazy difficult. We are not going to be doing that today. We're going to be playing on normal difficulty, and yeah, we'll see if we can beat this game, preferably without continuing. So as you can see, you can do easy, normal, hard, and we're going to stick with the stock normal setting, and that's pretty much it. So UN Squadron is loosely based off the arcade game of the same name, or originally known as Area 88 in Japan. And I say loosely based on it because it has a lot of similar bosses, it has a lot of similar stages and so forth. You do actually visit a lot of the same stages, but they're sort of remixed in this version of the game. There's also a different setup. As you can see, you've got a map selection here, and as you progress through levels in the game, the map actually opens up a little bit more and sort of like tiers. You got 3 different tiers that you can work with, actually 4 technically. You've got this little section here with your first level, and then it opens up with 4 or 5 more stages, and then it opens up again with another 2 main stages and a bunch of optional side like convoy stages, and then it opens up the last time for your final stage and your final encounter. So none of this is in the arcade game, and that dude there that you saw, he's also in the arcade game, but they sort of gave a different perspective on them in this game. So there's actually been a lot of changes from the arcade game, while still keeping a lot of similarities at the same time. Another big difference is that you can actually pick from different planes. However, you're stuck with this level, this F8E plane to start off with. By killing enemies, you get points, and sorry, not points. You get points, but you also get cash. You get money. And you can save up that money to buy bigger and better planes. The strategy I'm going to be using is probably sticking with my lowest level plane and saving up for the best plane to be my first and only purchase in the game. Each plane has different weapon abilities. So, for instance, this plane only has these abilities here. These ones that are sort of highlighted. The next plane up allows me to use some more missiles. It allows me to use, I think this spread shot here. But then some of the others are also blocked out for it. And so as you upgrade your planes, more of these weapons become available. Unfortunately, it's not until the final plane that they all become available at once. And so I actually don't really recommend trying to buy sort of like the mid-range planes, because I think you're just wasting your money. It is totally possible to just play with the first plane and save all the way up for the best plane, and then by then you can equip every single weapon at once. Every weapon does have limited ammunition. That's why it's really important. You're going to be using your special weapons in this game if you want to have an easier time with the game. So I start off with $3,000. It's not a whole lot, so I'm going to go ahead and pick the cluster shot. I can only use it 3 times. I might not even use it. I'm going to try not to use it actually on this level. But you don't have to feel bad about using it if you need to. So as you can see, UN Squadron is a side-scrolling shmup. There are no vertically scrolling sections. It's all scrolling to the right. Sometimes scrolling to the left, actually. Some levels will scroll to the left, which is kind of interesting and very unique. And you'll definitely see some of that as we play through this game. A lot of red enemies in this game are what give you your power-ups, your main weapon power-up, and that sort of like levels up the more pickups you pick up, and so forth. There is I believe a main weapon level cap per plane, and so you're not able to actually max out your main straight-ahead firepower with your stock lowest level plane. I think it only caps out at, you know, a couple levels up. And you'll see what I mean towards the end of the game once we get the final plane in the game and our spread shot, or our main shot, sorry, just gets very, very large. So one other thing you've got in this game is you've got a shield bar in the bottom. It's actually really interesting how it works. When you get hit, your shield bar goes all the way down. I think they actually call it fuel, but it's not really fuel. I consider it more like a shield. It goes all the way down for about 5 or 10 seconds. And during that 5 or 10 second period, if you get hit again, you die instantly. But if you don't get hit, it actually charges back up, but not all the way. And so, you know, on your stock level, your first ship, you might be able to take 3 or 4 hits before actually dying and losing a physical life. So it's a really neat system in this game, and it makes it, I'm not going to say easy, it makes it easier, but it actually makes the game kind of tense, because usually when you get hit, it's like things are kind of getting crazy, and you're like, oh crap, there's a lot of stuff coming at me now, and if I take a hit, I'm going to die. And when you die in this game, you've got to start the whole stage over again. You basically get shot back out to the map. There are no checkpoints, but the stages aren't very long, so no checkpoints is not a problem, unlike Super R-Type on the Super Nintendo. But that's how it works. Basically, you can actually take many hits per stage, but when your shield is completely down, you can die instantly, even though you've still maybe got 3/4 of your shield left. It's just how the game works, and it really keeps you on your toes. And it's I think it's a really, really cool feature in the game. Now, it's actually been a really, really long time since I played the arcade version, but I did watch a long play of it last night prior to doing this Let's Play, just to sort of jog my memory. It is a game I actually did play in the arcade a little bit. So there we go, my shield's down. So now if I take another hit, I'll die. Okay, it wasn't even 5 seconds, it was like 3 or 4 seconds. But now you can see my shield is about, it's a little over 3/4 of the way filled. But yeah, I was playing the arcade version. There are a lot of similar stages in the game. Like, you go to this stage in the arcade version, but the enemy patterns are different, the boss fight's a little bit different, and the arcade version is a little more manic. You know, there's a lot more stuff coming at you at once, and you can actually sort of rapid fire your shot faster in that version. I saw someone using on a long play. They might have been using like a turbo controller or something like that, sort of cheating a little bit, if you will. But I don't know. They might have been playing legit and just mashing the button really, really fast, if the game allows you to do that. So the game, when I saw it again, it definitely looked a lot more chaotic, especially some of those later boss fights. There's lots of bullets and beams on stream, lots of lasers and stuff like that. So, I think both games are pretty awesome, and I really want to play the arcade version again. I might have to load it up on MAME and actually give that a go on my own time. Maybe you can do a Let's Play of it down the road. I would like to do more arcade Let's Plays. But I like the pacing and the flow of the Super Nintendo version. I think it's just a really great game with how they put this one together. It's really good stuff. So, this is the conundrum I always find myself in. Which stage do I want to do next? See, now we've basically got 4 stages we can do. I'm going to actually do... It's probably risky, but I'm going to do this one. It doesn't really matter, because I'm not going to have... Really, I can play any stage, because I'm not going to have any new power-ups for any of these levels, because I'm not going to be able to afford the best ship until the next section of the map opens up. But I want to have the best ship for that top stage that's grayed out on the right. The red markers are your main levels, and then the sort of pink planes, they're also main stages as well. And then there's going to be a submarine that pops up in the ocean. That's going to be another main level, but it's mainly a boss fight. Let's do this one with the... Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just do the top stage. We'll just work our way down. Now, something to keep in mind is that you shouldn't really feel bad with buying all these weapons. You know, if you don't use them, you get refunded. when the stage ends. So you really want to have them on hand, just in case sort of crap hits the fan, if you know what I mean. You know, if you get in a tight situation, you want to be able to get out of it, otherwise you'll die, and you'll have to start over. And to me, that's not that much fun, having to start over, but, you know, it's your punishment for not playing that well. So I like to try to avoid that as much as possible. But what's really fun about that is you can sort of challenge yourself. You don't have to use the special weapons in the game doesn't force you to. And if you don't use them, you save money, and you can thus buy your higher level ships faster. So that's, you know, kind of how I like to play the game. Try to get my stuff up faster, try to buy the new planes faster, or preferably the final plane faster. And, but if you're having a hard time, you can absolutely just use your weapons. You'll earn a little less money, because again, weapons cost money. And you do get refunded that money. Ooh, a little bit of slowdown. That doesn't happen that often in this game, actually. You do get refunded the cash for those weapons that you don't use. So, it's a great dynamic that not many shmups actually have. I mean, maybe some classic PC shmups might have some elements kind of like that, where you can sell back weapons, like Rapture, Call of the Shadows. But for the most part, pretty much very, very few shooters have that option. I think it's just a very unique dynamic, and it's really fun. Again, it doesn't force your hand. You can play however you want, basically, and I think the game's better for it. Now in the long play, I remember seeing the player doing things like this, where if you get right at the right spot, you don't actually have to really move. Like, I'm just moving left and right to dodge the missiles that are coming up. I could try to destroy, you know, that little platform that's feeding me airplanes, but I don't really need to. I don't even think I get money for destroying those platforms, so I might as well just conserve my ammunition if I can. Like, look at this, I'm gonna get most of that money back, because I used very few bombs or missiles on this stage. And just skip through that. And we'll go ahead and work our way down. So this is a level where, actually, the next two levels are stages where the map's going to loop around. They're, you know, on the boss fight section, the map's going to loop around. You guys will see what I mean once we get to that. And one thing I got to comment on this playthrough is, and I haven't done it yet, it's just, man, the soundtrack in this game is so good. Really, really holds up very well. Pretty much every track in the game is good, and it fits, and it's just quite an amazing soundtrack. Both the arcade version and this version have great soundtracks. There are actually more sound effects in the arcade version, but they're kind of like a lot of other CPS-1 arcade games, which is what the original UN Squadron ran on, the motherboard UN Squadron ran on. There's a lot of tinny sound effects in the arcade version, and it was relatively common for a lot of CPS-1 arcade games. In this game, they don't really have sound effects. When you're hitting like really big enemies, like the helicopters or really big planes that take a lot of hits, in the arcade version, you would hear like ting 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 noises, like every time you made contact with the enemy. But that's not in this version. It's completely silent. You basically just hear your main shot, and then you'll hear the explosions when you destroy the enemies, but you won't actually hear your bullets making contact with the enemies. So that's actually a pretty big difference from the arcade game, but I like it. I don't, you know, I like that the enemies blink, and I know that I'm making contact with them. And that's one of my favorite ways for arcade-style games to let me know that that I'm doing damage to an enemy. It's that they're blinking, you know? And it's a good effect. It's a good arcade-style effect. You see in a lot of arcade games, actually. I don't necessarily need a sound letting me know I'm hitting the enemies if they're blinking. Especially if it's an annoying sound, you know? Probably wasn't the best time to use the Mega Crush, but, whatever. I've got a shield, so I'm not feeling too bad here. And I always forget what this one does. I think that actually gives me my shield back, so I didn't really need it. That's that classic Capcom icon. I totally forgot what it was called, so if you guys know what it is, feel free to post a comment below and let me know. It's been around for a really long time. It's been in the Mega Man games. It was in, I believe, Ghosts and Goblins. Lots of Capcom games, actually. So as you can see, we're going back to the left now, and it's one of the sort of cool features in this game. Unlike, say, 1943, that really could have used this function, where you get to a boss fight, and if you don't destroy it quickly enough, you just keep flying over it. And instead of turning around, the game's like, yeah, you suck, you've got to do the entire boss fight over again. And usually the fights are really, really difficult in that game, so... You know, you and Squadron got it right. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't punish you for not killing everything on your first go. I know I'm really gloating about this game and how great I think it is, but it really is, I think, a great shooter in this system. And if you haven't played it, I highly recommend checking it out, especially since it's not one of the more expensive shmups in the system. I'd say it's in mid to low range price category. Unlike games like R-Type 3 or Space Megaforce or Aero Fighters, it's definitely an affordable game. So if you're the kind of person that likes to actually physically collect your Super Nintendo games, definitely pick this one up if you haven't played it, for sure. So now levels like this, you know, it actually helps to have different ships. Like, these ships that come up from behind you, pretty annoying. They shoot straight up. It's actually really hard to dodge their shots. And we got hit, so I gotta make sure I don't get hit again. Okay, we're good. So really, I have no way to attack behind me except for using my cluster shot, like this, but I only get 3 of them, so I don't always want to be using this. Now when my shield's down, I'm going to use my special attacks much more liberally. Because really I don't want to die. I've got to do it all over again, I lose a life, and you know, there's all that goes along with it, unfortunately. So... See, this is potentially bad, because I've lost my shield again. We're still good. I find that for these really big turrets, you can sort of like stay right out above them vertically, and they can't shoot directly straight up. They can only shoot at angles or straight ahead, but not straight up. So that's something to keep in mind when you're playing this level. Got it. Nice. Racking up the big bucks. The next level, once the map opens up farther, I think is where you get a lot of cash, and that should put me at about the $1 million threshold, which is what the final plane costs. Oh look, so these are optional stages. However, something to keep in mind is that you notice like some of these are actually progressing towards the left. Your base is all the way on the left-hand side, the one that says 88 for Area 88. You know, the Japanese version of the game. These can actually get to your base, and you're basically forced to play them. I don't know if they actually do anything that can end your game if they get there. I have no idea. I've really never let them get that far. Actually, that's not true. I think I got this plane all the way over there once, and I don't even remember what happened. It was a really long time ago. So, but I think after these 2 levels, the plane and the submarine, and then after this bottom stage, I think I should be at the $1 million threshold. I really need that best ship for this level up top, right here. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see it, because it's supposed to be a blinking cursor, but I don't know if you guys can actually see it blinking. Because it's at 30 frames a second instead of 60. Okay, well, let me just pick a level. But basically, that top level is very, very dangerous, and then the boss, you have to have a ship that can shoot vertically if you plan on beating that boss. And the best ship in the game has vertical shots. It's got homing shots that'll lock onto the weak spot. It's also got some forward shooting shots that will actually go through hard objects, which actually helps a lot as well. So you've got some small enemies here, but a lot of these guys, they actually take multiple hits, so they don't just die like your popcorn enemies. Fortunately, I've got my weapon powered up a little bit, so they're a little bit easier. They take, I think, 1 or 2 less hits now. Which I don't remember this character's firepower getting this large, which is nice, actually. I totally forgot, actually. When I beat this game yesterday, I was actually playing as Mickey, the center ship, and each of the ships in the game actually have slightly different traits in terms of like the kind of damage they take, you know, how fast they are. I believe Shin is the fastest ship. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's it. Short level. But that's what the non-mandatory levels are like. They're shorter than your normal red icon stages. Oh, I've got to wait for the submarine to pop up again? Damn, man. Okay, we'll do the bottom stage because, yeah, this is a totally doable level. This is going to be another air boss fight, though, which is actually pretty tricky. This is actually a pretty tricky level as well. You've got both ground and air enemies, much like some earlier stages. But you got a lot of enemies that come from behind. You got these dudes from the top that drop like this napalm or fire on the ground. Very risky enemies. You got these purplish planes that come down. They shoot very fast straight ahead. You've got these big turret towers. Those rocks that appear when you destroy them will actually hurt you, so you have to be very careful. I try to fly straight through them like that. Now, this level actually used to wreck me big time, but UN Squadron is the kind of game where if you know what's coming up and you know how to deal with everything, it's actually not that bad. So again, there's strategy involved, a little bit of memorization involved. You really need to know how to attack things in this game. You need to have a game plan when you go through with this game and play it. But I think that makes it all the more satisfying to get through, especially once you get a handle on the game. Oh yeah, there's a lot of homing missiles on this boss fight. Now, I don't know if it's due to a damage threshold, but the boss will use his thrusters on you as an attack, and when he does, he flies off. And I think it's actually due to a damage threshold, so if you damage him enough, he does it. And I haven't actually been hitting him that much. So you want to actually stay, somewhat far away. I'm going to use my Mega Crush. And he hasn't done it yet, surprisingly. This is actually a pretty tough boss fight, I will say. I mean, when you're not... when you don't have your higher level weapons, it's really tough. But I still did it. Magically. Wow, that was really close. See, my shield was entirely gone at that point, so pretty much any other hits would have killed me. But you know what's great? It did put me over the $1 million threshold. But I'm gonna actually have to grind out some more cash. Which actually shouldn't be a problem because of this boss fight here. I don't really need any special weapons. These little green convoys down here, these trucks, you can actually just grind them out as much as you want. You might get 20 to 40,000 per battle, and it's something that ends in like 15 or 20 seconds. They're very, very short stages, but you can grind out some cash there to level up, you know, to go into further stages with max firepower. You know, you've bought all your special weapons, and that thus makes your stages a hell of a lot easier. So I'm not going to have, after buying this, I'm not going to have any money to spend on planes. I've only got $1,000, and $1,000 doesn't really buy you anything in this game. You need $2,000 at a bare minimum. So, not a big deal. This is just a straight boss fight, and I should be able to do this without having any special weapons. You got a couple planes that fly in overhead, so I'll just sort of stay up top and shoot them down. The boss comes up from the water really quickly. Well, except right now, he comes up really slowly the first time, I forgot. And you can just get down and shoot him in the front, but watch out for that little sort of torpedo type shot. It causes a really large blast, as you can see. Nope. You definitely don't want to get too close either, apparently. So I'm going to wait till my shield charges back up. So the higher level ships, actually, they charge up faster too. The shields, I mean. Their shields charge up faster, which is quite nice. So this is going to take a little bit longer than usual since I'm not using any special weapons. Normally I have bombs and missiles and stuff like that, and I'm dropping them from the top. Let's play it safe. So always go back up when he's underneath the water, because he always pops up the same way. Probably almost dead by now. Yep, he's gone. And that might give us enough cash to buy every weapon. If not, I'll grind out some, No, I think I'm gonna have to grind out a couple of missions. So let's do some of these convoys. Yeah, I've got $100,000, and I need more than $100,000 to buy every weapon. I want to buy every weapon at once because the next boss fight is really, really tough. And the stage is pretty tough too, actually. So again, I'm going into this one with no firepower, but all you need to do is just get down and destroy those trucks and missiles, basically. Missile turrets. As you saw, very short. Usually I finish it with about 28 or 29 seconds left over. And I got a little bit of money, so what I'll do is I'll do it another time, maybe 2 times, just to make sure I can buy every weapon to make my life a lot easier. And it's basically the same thing every time. It's nothing special at all. If you really wanted to try to make this go faster, you could equip a special weapon, but again, you're just using money. I don't know if you get more money for beating this level faster, but just doing it just like that seems to work pretty well. You know, you get $25,000, and I'll go ahead and do it one more time. That should give me enough money to buy every single weapon. Again, this isn't necessary. If you really want to challenge yourself, you can just go straight to that next level without doing any of this, basically. Hell, if you wanted to, you could try to go through the last levels, quote-unquote, sorry, with just the beginning ship, if you wanted to. Or try to do it with, like, a mid-level ship that costs $500,000 instead of a full million, or something like that. I wouldn't really recommend that. Did I do it? Oh, I did. Okay. I wouldn't really recommend doing it with any of the mid-range ships, though, just because they don't have... Their flexibility is not as great as the flexibility of the last plane in the game. So, You know, later on in the game, you get a lot of enemies that come from behind, from up top, from down low, all at the same time. Oh. Well, I'm probably not going to need that one. Yeah. Okay, I should be able to get by without that, without the napalm. Napalm just goes straight down below you. Great for the final boss, and you guys will see why once we get to the final boss. But for this level, I'm just going to use this firepower. The Phoenix is a great weapon. It's a homing shot, and I'm pretty sure it goes through walls. And as you can see, some of those enemies were sort of coming in slow from behind me. Now they're coming in fast from behind me. If you use the homing shot, it makes life a little bit easier. I typically just avoid that guy completely. No point in wasting ammunition on him. It's not really necessary. At this point, it doesn't really matter how much stuff you kill because you're maxed out now in terms of, you know, your shit. You know, the amount of weapons available to you and so forth. You've done your grind. You've got the best weapon or the best ship in the game with the best weapons. So you don't really need to worry about killing everything on screen. Unless you're playing for high score. That's a different story. But I'm not playing for high score. I always play for survival in these games. Particularly the games I'm not super comfortable with. Like, I'm doing pretty well now, but it's because I've been playing the game the last couple of days. And I finally beat it multiple times and got into sort of a rhythm with it. But I'm definitely not at the point where I should be doing, like, going for high scores or anything like that. As you can see, the vertical weapons are awesome on this boss. I think he's almost dead. His little core is red now. Oh, no! Oh, man. See, that's why you don't play risky. Now we've got to do that whole stage all over again. Oh. Alright, we'll do one of these again. I don't know how much cash I have. I had these weapons, so I'm going to have to rebuy. Yeah. Oh, that sucked, man. That sucked hardcore. And that was really dumb. I should have just focused on using the vertical shot. I mean, I used up all of one of my vertical shots, but I also had the angled turret. Which is really what you want to use, because you can constantly be firing it. Man, that sucked so bad. Now we basically got to do this all over again. But hey, I mean, that's what happens in UN Squadron. You know, if you don't play safe, you get punished for it. And I'm gonna do what I'm doing and grind out some more weapons. So again, it's probably not necessary. I think I had 160-something thousand last time I bought most of those weapons. I think on these levels it would be cool if that, like, the terrain would change color or something like that. You know, give a little more variation. You know, you got 3 different trucks on the map, but they all look pretty much exactly the same. I'm gonna go ahead and do it one more time and get that napalm. I know I don't really need it, but just in case. You still get the exact same amount of money. Wow, look at that. So you can basically take damage, which will kill the last one. That's really cool. We gotta do it again for shits and grins. Just because. I want to do that again. I've never done that before. So basically, get down, start shooting, and take damage on the last one. Nope, didn't work. Maybe the taking damage part doesn't actually kill them. I just happened to shoot a final shot. Yeah, he just took one more shot. Oh well, still got another 25 grand. Not a big deal. Can't complain about that. Alright, so let's do this next level. And let's not kill ourselves this time. This boss actually gave me a lot of hell back in the day. I was never able to beat this game. This is pretty much where I would get stuck. But if you go in with the best ship, and you've got the right strategy, you know, these vertical weapons here, you really, really need these. The Mega Crush is very good. Your Cluster Shot is very good. Your Phoenix is very good. The forward shooting shots, not so good, but they at least go through objects. So, you know, you can use them as a last resort. You know, your downward bombs, pretty much useless, which you've got 3 of them. So, but if you use an early ship, that's all you've got. So good luck trying to beat this boss without any special weapons. I don't even know if it's possible, honestly, because of the weak points is directly above you vertically. Man, I gotta say that Falcon Chat is not very powerful. Alright, getting close to the boss fight once more. Now, when I was playing this game yesterday, there was actually a shield power up here. Jesus, man, come on. I mean, this is a tough boss fight. Like, no joke. Oh, did it though, did it. Nice. Now what's funny is I think the last level is actually easier than this level is. The boss fight is actually a really big multi-screen ship, which is really cool, but I actually think the fight itself is easier than this fight is. This is a really tough fight. Because you got those guys shooting flames from the bottom, you got the main boss shooting flames from the top. I don't think you can attack this dude's weak point from either the top left or top right sides. You pretty much have to be down below and shooting vertically, which is really, really tough. And that boss fight always gave me trouble, and that was my big roadblock when I was playing this game back in the day. Buy everything. There's a cheap shot here. Enemies are going to actually come out from directly behind you in this really small area, so have a weapon equipped that can shoot behind you. Looks like we're maxed out on firepower now. Look at that. And there's some interesting stuff that happens here. These rocks that come up from the bottom. Very unlike anything else that you've encountered in this game so far. And I'm gonna get hit. Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna have two bosses here actually. We've got a main boss, which I think was actually in the arcade version. And then we've got the big battleship. And in the arcade version you have to fight a big battleship at the very end too, but I think the battleship in this game is actually different from the one in the arcade version of the game. Gotta say the bullpup shot is pretty nice. It's a nice spread shot. It goes through walls and everything. Very, very handy. Cool, got a shield too, very nice. Alright, boss time. Alright, now time for the big battleship, and this is pretty much the final showdown in the game, and then we are done. Now, I actually found out a really good strategy when I was playing this game yesterday, and that's you don't there's this like center hole that you can destroy from the top and bottom. And when you do it, it leaves an opening on both the tops and bottoms. You actually don't want there to be an opening on the top because it pretty much makes a lot of your missile power-ups almost useless. Alright, turn around. Thank you. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. I'm trying to destroy these turrets. Alright, so now we've got the core open from the top. You want to leave it that way. We don't want to open it up from the bottom. Otherwise, you've actually got to get in there with your ship and try to defeat the core head-on. Kind of like in an R-type game. Okay, so now it should actually just keep us at this position, and we can focus on just destroying the core. You're not going to be floating backwards or flying back and forth. So by doing this, the trick I learned yesterday is you can use your napalm. One of the few times I would actually use the napalm in the game. And that's it. And I figured that out yesterday by complete accident. Because normally I would destroy both the top and bottom portions. But I didn't by accident yesterday, and that worked perfectly. So the ending that you see is basically the same for every character as far as I'm aware. I don't know if there are any differences if you beat it on hard mode, because I've never done it. But it's basically the exact same thing regardless of what character you play as. It's just the character portraits change and the name they use on that wall of text changes. And that's pretty much it, guys. You and Squadron. That's, credits are going to roll. It's actually a fairly long credit feed, and then it's going to fade out to a black screen. Capcom's going to thank you for playing, even though you weren't the ones playing, but, you know, we can pretend you were, or something like that. And that's you and Squadron. Again, like I said, I think it's a really awesome shoot 'em up for the system, quite possibly even the best on the system. There's a lot going on with this game. Lots of variety with you know, the wide ship variety and so forth, and the weapon variety, and, you know, taking the stages in any order you want, and all that good stuff. And it feels good. It's fun. It's a great game. Highly recommend checking this out if you guys have never played it before. And yeah, I'm probably going to start a new Let's Play series that's going to involve me playing games on the hardest skill modes. And I'm probably going to re-tackle this game again in the near future for that Let's Play series. So stay tuned for that. You guys will eventually get to see this game on hard mode. It is pretty tough. It's very tough, actually. So hard mode is actually true to its name, and it's definitely a big challenge. Oh man, so UN Squadron, aka Area 88. If you've played this game before, let me know your comments on, you know, how you feel about it. If you haven't, well, you should try it out. It's really solid. I really want to try the arcade version again, though. I haven't played that in such a long time. I did actually beat that back in the day, probably through credit feeding at some arcade when I was like 10 years old. But it always stuck with me. You know, that game always resonated with me, the arcade version, as did the Super Nintendo version, which I didn't play until later on in my life, when I was collecting video games. But both are great games, and I highly recommend checking out either one, or both even, because they're so similar, yet they're so different at the same time, which is awesome. It's one of the arcade conversions that really stands on its own, aside, you know, from the arcade version. Like, it's really, really good. Both of them really stand well on their own, and I highly recommend checking out both of them. So, there you go, guys. Thanks for playing, presented by Capcom. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe, and watch out for some more Let's Plays in the future, or go back to my channel and check out all the other Let's Plays I've done previously, and long plays and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. Take it easy, all. Thanks for watching again.